Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to give you guys a quick update before I play the rest of this video. So I promised you guys a video about how to make DIY potting soil and how to make light stands for outdoor lights and stuff in pots, so you're growing food or flowers or whatever. And we ended up getting COVID right at the end of the garden season, and it just took us out for about a month, and I got way behind. And before I started posting new content for this year, I wanted to go ahead and fulfill my promise of showing you guys a video I shot last year about how to grow, or not how to grow, but how to create DIY planters that have light stands in them for outdoor lighting. So here's that video, and I hope you guys had a great gardening season last year in 2021. I can't wait for what's coming in 2022, so go ahead and subscribe. But here's that video for you. I hope you have a good day. Hey guys, welcome back to the garden. I told y'all in our next video we would be talking about making DIY potting mix for containers, and we would be putting in lights to go around our patio, string light posts, if you will, in planters. So I want to show you guys what that's going to look like. First of all, we're starting with these 16-inch, these are matte white, I think they're called Trendsetter pots from Home Depot. And I believe they were $41, $42, something like that before tax. The only problem is they are straight sides, so they don't come to a point at the bottom or anything. I like that. Especially for holding a heavy weight for these string lights poles, because it's going to allow them to not blow over as easily, and it gives me a little planting space and soil beneath. So I want to be showing you guys how I'm going to create the posts, and then I'll get into DIY potting mix. I hope you all enjoy the video. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button. It would help us out a ton. You can check out some of our garden tours over this season. It's going to be a great growing season. You can see we have all sorts of stuff already growing in the garden. We're all no dig. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. Let's go ahead and dive into the video. All right, guys, we're in the shop, in the warehouse, the garage, whatever you're gonna call it. And here we have our posts. They are 1 gallon pots with a 2-inch by 2-inch by 8-foot, I guess you would call it just a stake, a furring strip, whatever you want to call it. And this setup, just the pots and the stakes, I believe together costs around $4 or so. We are in the height of the lumber prices from the pandemic, so it is a little more expensive, but it's still about $5 a post or so for the pots and the stakes. Got them both at Home Depot. The pots from the gardening section, the lumber obviously is in the lumber section. So the only problem with filling these pots with concrete is, as you can see here, they have holes in the bottom. To fix that, when I'm pouring the concrete in, I've used packing peanuts to kind of stick in the hole and then pull through so they make a good seal. It's not perfect, but it was what I had to come up with to kind of fill the holes. Thought about using tape and all that stuff, and I was like, you know, concrete's pretty coarse. It's not just going to drain through those holes. Some water might escape. I don't know. If we get it properly mixed, I think it'll be fine. But we're going to take those. We're going to pour Quickcrete concrete mix in it, which is right here. We have a 60-pound bag. And this is the high strength concrete mix. Like again, I say it's a 60-pound bag. It's got a 24 to 48 hour setting time. I think you can buy like 1 hour Quickcrete. That would probably be fine for this. It's not like a super industrial job. These are going to go down in the bottom of those planters. So we're getting ready to pour concrete in these and get started. So stay tuned. All right, guys, we're getting ready to pour concrete. We're going to take a 5-gallon bucket and our 60-pound bag of Quickcrete and 2 quarts of water, which if you don't have a hose or something on hand, that is a ½ gallon of water. So if you have a ½ gallon milk jug, bring that out, fill it up with water. It says if it's not just the right consistency, you can add a little bit more clean water. We might be getting ready to make a mess. That's okay. This is a shop, so it's not the end of the world. So make sure you pick a nice spot where you can do it without making too much of a mess. I'm hoping these packing peanuts seal these holes well enough to not leak too much, but it might leak a little bit. We'll see. So the other important thing you're going to need is you're going to need some gloves. The back of the bag suggests nitrile gloves. I have some. I think everybody has some of these with COVID going around and all that stuff. So I'm going to double up on these. Get you a nice thick mixing stick, something you can get down in there without having to get up to your elbow in concrete. And then you're going to need a level. The reason you're gonna need a level is because after we pour these, before we put the very last bit in the pots, we're gonna set them to level, and then we're gonna backfill that rest to level. And that way we end up with straight posts. Now my pots in the garden are not necessarily sitting on super level surfaces. So I made the decision to go ahead and pour them level, and then we'll adjust when we get out there if we need to. So let's get started. Like I said, we might make us a big mess here, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right, so we're all set up here. We've got our Quikrete open. We've got our mixing stick. We've got 2 sets of these gloves on because they're cheap. They're like the surgical kind, not the industrial kind. So we're gonna go ahead and pour about half this bag in here. We're gonna mix it up a little bit. We're gonna add the other half. We're gonna pour the rest of the water in there. We're gonna get to mixing, and then we'll start pouring. So first things first, let's get about half this bag in here. Say that's about half. It's about half our water. Start giving it a good stir. Some people use those drill bit tools to do this. I don't have one of those, but that would be a great option. Put the drill bit down in here to stir this up. It would be a bad idea to wear a mask or a respirator instead of breathing in concrete dust. We got that in there. We're gonna put our other half in on top. Then mix that water in there. I have a strong feeling we're gonna need a little bit more water. All right, we're gonna end up adding about another half quart of water. And I just wanna make sure that we have a good consistency here. Add that in. I might take a minute to really get down there in the bottom of this. So I'm gonna dig it a hole to work itself in. Okay, we'll mix the rest of it when we get down there. But right now, you can see the consistency here is a pretty moist consistency, kind of creamy or cakey, if you will. Kind of holds together in your hand, kind of bounce it back and forth like so. So we're gonna start by filling the bottom of these containers as best we can. So let's scoot this over a little bit. I'm gonna bang these containers on the bottom of the floor to make sure I get out as much air bubbles as possible. I think this is gonna be pretty much the perfect amount of material. So we're not filling them up all the way. And the reason for that is we wanna make sure that there's some room at the top once we level to be able to backfill and make these right. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab, I'm actually gonna grab a towel, keep it off the posts. Grab a towel, I kind of center it up as best I can. Then I'm gonna pack it down a little bit. That way I'm taking care of some of the air bubbles in there. Just 3 or 4 good tap should do it. So now we're at a spot where we need to go ahead and get these things level before we backfill and get them all the way filled up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our level, just any standard household level will work, and we wanna put it up against the side of the post and get this top bubble, this horizontal bubble, square in between the two lines, make sure we have a level post. So to do that, I'm gonna come in here, set it against here, do my best to get level, and then I'm gonna push around the base a little bit to kind of fill the gap where it leaned, and get it as level as possible. Same this way, I'm gonna do it on both sides. Okay, it's not holding super well, so we're gonna go ahead and backfill anyway and try and adjust the level once we get there. Like I said, it's my first time doing this as well, so you guys are coming along with the ride. We're coming along on the ride with me on how we're gonna get this done. It's kind of like planting a vegetable in a pot. Yeah, that's going to be easier to level now that it's a little bit higher up the post. So we got level this way. I have to dig out a little bit. Shove around this side. Pretty darn level. This side needs to go that way, a touch. Let's see where we're at here. Stones come this way, just a little bit. We're level there. Level there. Okay. We'll go ahead and fill this pot all the way up without moving the stake around too much. I want it to be level because I want the water and the bottom of the potting mix to be able to kind of shed off this without creating a puddle on top of it. So I want it to be level with the top of the container. I'm going to create just a little bit of a mound around it so the water sheds off the sides. So let's double check one more time. Pretty close. Pretty close. Then you always want to lay eyes on what you've done. Yep, it looks pretty level. Okay, so we're going to do that on the other 4 posts, and then we're going to dive into how to get them into the planters and how to make our own DIY potting soil. All right, guys, we got them all poured, and we're gonna let them sit here for 24 to 48 hours to cure and get really hard, and then I'll take you guys outside and we'll put them in the planters. But first, let's make our DIY potting mix. Okay, guys, here you can see we've put the posts in the pots, and this is how they'll stand. They'll stand straight up. Same over here. Same over here. I got one behind me as well, but I've pulled it out of the pot because I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure where we want our hook for our lights. So I'm thinking probably 2 to 3 inches down, and we'll mark a spot and we'll drill a hole there. And then I'll show you what we're using. We're using these, they're called, the brand is Everbuilt. Sorry. Everbuilt 1/4 inch by 2 5/8 inch eye bolt with a nut on the back. So we'll pre-drill the hole and we'll put it straight through here And this is just long enough, you can see that it'll go just right there. And that's exactly what we'll do. We'll do that on all 4 posts. And that way we have something to hang our lights from. Now that we have got the eye bolts attached, we are ready to fill this guy up with some potting soil. All right, guys, we're getting ready to make some DIY potting mix. So I cannot remember where I found this recipe. It was from a YouTuber, and so I sincerely apologize for not giving you credit because I'm just not sure where I got it. So this recipe is not my own. I found it on YouTube, but this is how you can make your own DIY potting mix for like 1/10 of the price of buying the potting mix bag that's organic. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna use 2 parts peat moss, 2 parts compost, 1 part perlite. And perlite's gonna improve your drainage and your aeration of your soil. And the last thing is a handful of a well-balanced organic fertilizer. This is 444, meaning that's the NPK. And so we will just kind of have to measure this out as we go. But I would say if we're doing 2 of these of peat moss, 2 of these of compost, and 1 of these of perlite, then I'll probably give it a good handful, maybe 2 handfuls to that 1 mix. So yeah, we're gonna get started making some and start filling our pots. All right, guys, let's make some potting mix. So first, like I said, we're gonna do 2 parts peat. So let's get 2 of these full of peat. It's really nice black, thick stuff here. A little bit of wood in there. So we got 1. And then 2. Good scoops. Then we got 2 parts compost. This is mushroom compost, like I said. 1. And 2. And this perlite. I didn't make a big enough hole. And add your perlite in. And then our last part here is a good handful of 444 organic fertilizer. And I'm gonna do another handful, just kind of 2 palmfuls. It's organic, you probably won't burn it that way. That's the thing, guys, I would not use a chemical fertilizer for this simply because it's really easy to overuse. With this organic fertilizer, you're gonna be able to keep a more even soil, even NP&K across there. Still gonna be a nice slow release fertilizer, but you're not gonna burn your plants. So the next thing we wanna do here is we wanna mix this up and make sure everything gets really good and incorporated. And the thing that I love about this is it already looks just like the stuff that you buy in the store, except for a lot of those potting mixes are just basically mulch nowadays, it seems. Unless you buy a high quality organic potting mix in the bag, most of them turn out to just be mulch. So there's what a good DIY potting mix looks like. I'll bring you guys in closer with my dirty hands so you can see it. It's exactly what it looks like, nice and dark. And when I squeeze it, it holds its shape, but when I bounce it around, it kind of breaks apart. It's a good consistency. It's gonna be great to use in these pots right there. So we'll get that going and we'll finish up the video here in just a second by planting some stuff. All right, guys, the last thing we have to do is go ahead and get some of this potting soil into these pots. So I'm gonna start around the base to make sure that I can hold these light stands in place before I go dumping a whole bunch in there. I wanna make sure that they're steady where they need to be. So we're gonna go ahead and get a good base layer down, then I'll show you what I'm talking about here. The soil is so nice and loose and airy. It's gonna be great. So let's bring you in closer. All right, guys, we got it all filled up. I'm going to use this specific planter as a little Mediterranean herb planter. I've gone ahead and added a little more perlite in this one to make sure that it's got good drainage for these herbs. But this is all started from seed. There's a thyme plant, some oregano, a little kind of sad rosemary. I'm hoping he takes off once he gets in some good soil. But here you guys go. Here is your light poles over here. I'm not gonna go ahead and put the lights in. We don't have our outdoor electric installed yet, but that's all you guys need is some eye hooks. And then of course you need some power to run some string lights. I hope that helps you guys. This is about the cheapest way that I could find to create these DIY planters in a modern, good looking space. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, go ahead and please like, subscribe, and comment below. If you have any ideas or ways that you've done it or something you'd like to see in a future video, go ahead and drop it down in the comments and I'd love to respond to you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.